The upcoming CBA negotiations for the WNBA are going to be interesting because there's going to be a real push for a significant raise for the players. And there is one player in particular to thank for that, of course, it being Caitlin Clark. And, we've done every sort of song and dance about how much popularity Clark has brought to the WNBA. It does feel like a broken record, like all the records she broke in her rookie season. But I'm not sure there is really necessarily a precedent for one player changing the course of a league and really a sport and the dynamics of it, and therefore also financially benefiting their peers in the process. And that's what's going to happen with Caitlin Clark. We'll see how, contentious the negotiations get, but that is a guarantee. There is a guarantee that we already know more money is going to come into the WNBA. We already know more money is coming into the WNBA. We already have seen the WNBA's growth. It is a guarantee that WNBA players will be paid more because, in large part, of Caitlin Clark's involvement with the league. How much more remains to be seen. But Clark's agent, and I know a lot of y'all have talked about her agent a bunch and what you think of her Nike deal. And remember, I believe Clark is worth significantly more than her Nike deal. I think she should be paid as much as any Nike athlete. But I said that at the time, and I understand why the deal is what it is, because regardless, it was significantly more than anyone in her position in her sport had gotten before. And I do think there was this thing with her where it took people a while to realize that it wasn't a flash in the pan, that it wasn't going to be Tebow Mania or Linsanity, and it was going to stick. It was going to be Michael Jordan, right? Like, or Tiger Woods or something like that, rather than those other examples. And I think mainstream media took a while to pick up on that, and some of these big brands and corporations took a while to pick up on that. I was early on it because I could feel it, and I could see it with my own eyes, having watched basketball. Because again, at the basis of this is about basketball, and I saw the talent there. I mean, obvious, right? Like, obvious. But Caitlin Clark's agent is campaigning for Clark and campaigning for the rest of the league. There was an ESPN article that came out, and in it, Aaron Kane, that's Clark's agent, was quoted as saying, "Will Caitlin Clark ever be paid by the WNBA what she's really worth to that league? I don't think that's possible." Then she added, "She's a large part of a larger player body. They all need to be paid more. She should be recognized for what she has done and what she's brought to the league from an economic standpoint. It's as simple as that." And then later, the most important thing has always been getting WNBA players paid more for what they do on the court. I'm very hopeful for this CBA negotiation that it will be progressive and move the line forward a bit. So for those who have called for Clark's team and management to advocate on her behalf, there you have it. I mean, it doesn't get much stronger than it's impossible to properly compensate her for her value. And where's the other sentence I just read? She should be recognized for what she has done and what she's brought to the league from an economic standpoint. It's as simple as that. I mean, those are strong words from Clark's agent. And now you do see, the WNBA as a whole, the other players becoming bigger stars, the incoming players becoming bigger stars. Again, points I have made over and over and over again. But the rubber's going to meet the road coming up here soon. And we're going to see. We know about the new media rights deal. We know the attendance figures are likely to be higher. We know that they're probably going to be able to open up other revenue streams. Now, with that said, the WNBA has not been a profitable business. It has been subsidized by the NBA. So in a sense, it has been a charity case for a long time. I don't say that to be derogatory. I say that because it is simply a matter of fact. But some of the players who helped get the league to the point where a Caitlin Clark could happen are going to be compensated, the ones that are still around. Unfortunately, the players that came before, I mean, this happened in the NBA too. You hear some of the old heads in the NBA bitter about what they get paid versus what guys get paid now. And, look, you can make the argument that players get paid too much and it hurts the product. I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm never arguing against people getting compensated their worth, trust me. But you can make that, argument in the macro sense that when you're making $50 million a year, the likelihood of, you know, each moment or each event or each thing mattering as much to you is just going to be naturally lessened as part of human nature. And maybe that will be the case with the WNBA going forward. Maybe it will hurt the college system too, because one of the boosts for women's basketball, I think, is that it has a real college feeder system where you get to grow with the players and know their stories before they come to the WNBA. I mean, how much have we talked about Juju Watkins and Paige Beckers and Hannah Hidalgo and all those players so that when they are WNBA ready, people are going to be ready for them? I mean, that is part, I think, of the growth of the women's game. But nonetheless, um, I believe that the potential for true profitability is there for the WNBA on its own. They have a good product. They have a strong product. It was a compelling watch last year. And that's beyond Caitlin Clark. Again, the people who came in because of Caitlin Clark saw everything else. We see Sabrina's shoes moving. We see Asia Wilson getting a shoe now. We see, you know, at the All-Star game, people saw Arike Ogunbowale. We see Nafisa Collier getting recognized now and Unrivaled being able to stand on its own. All of these things are, you know, related. And, you know, the further we move forward, the lesser you would hope it all comes back to Caitlin Clark. Because I think Caitlin Clark's true legacy and all that would be the growth of everything around her, too. But when it comes to that, the transformative figure and change agent, I guess agent, pun intended. Um, what's Occam's razor? The simplest explanation is the one that requires the fewest assumptions is generally the correct one. And that's where, you know, the whole blowback and pushback and narrative around last season is going to look so ridiculous in the future. In, you know, when we're in the future and we're looking back at the past texts, we will see how silly it was, you know, because this is truly a historic, it's been a historic year in women's basketball. We're approaching a calendar year since Caitlin Clark played her final game at Iowa. We haven't even gotten to a calendar year, obviously, to that or the WNBA draft, but we will have the 2025 season, and I don't expect it to go in the other direction. I think that arrow is pointed upwards, and that will reflect in the pay. That's how business works. And Caitlin Clark's impact on the business of the WNBA and women's basketball is impossible to put a price on.